Well, good morning and welcome back. If you realized that that I wasn't doing these actually before, but now I'm back doing it on Monday, March 8th. Welcome to Morning Gospel Fuel with 14 minutes left, Eastern Standard Time. But it is Monday, March 8th, the feast day of Saint John of God. What a great title, Saint John of God. What did he do to get that title? Well, he went from a prominent family to immense poverty, so he had both lives. Then that immense poverty to escape that, eventually he went to the military. Then that didn't fulfill him. Then he became a farmer, and then that didn't fulfill him. And then he experienced a deep spiritual conversion after listening to a homily done by Saint John of Avila. Then after that, he spent time in an insane asylum because they thought he had gone crazy with what he was doing and being impoverished. Um, but then he eventually came out, and then he developed through that experience um, a whole bunch of hospitals for the sick and for the mentally ill, physically ill, any type of illness possible. He wanted to tend to absolutely all of them. So he sold everything to put it towards this, where he was actually indebted. But anyway, with all that being said, he is now the patron saint of hospitals and the mentally ill. Today's gospel is from Luke chapter 4, verses 24 through 30. Let's begin in the name of the Father, Son, and Spirit. Amen. And he said, Amen, I say to you, no prophet is accepted in his own native place. Indeed, I tell you, there were many widows in Israel in the days of Elijah, when the sky was closed for 3.5 years and a severe famine spread over the entire land. It was to none of these that Elijah was sent, but only to a widow in Zarephath in the land of Sidon. Again, there were many lepers in Israel during the time of Elisha the prophet, yet none of them was cleansed, but only Naaman the Syrian. When the people in the synagogue heard this, they were all filled with fury. They rose up, drove him out of the town, and led him to the brow of the hill on which their town had been built, to hurl him down headlong. But he passed through the midst of them and went away. Okay, so this gospel is entitled The Rejection at Nazareth, it seems similar to St. John of God that I just talked about, where he's just not accepted in his hometown and people think he's crazy, or even after he does all this good stuff of healing everybody, whether they're his enemies or not, um, they attack him. It says, the people in the synagogue heard this, and they were filled with fury. So people got mad at all this goodness, and then it ends pretty dramatically, that they wanted to hurl Jesus down head first from the top of the hill. So, but then he passed away with them through the midst of them and went away. So it just comes to show how people have such a hard time helping others, and if it's not their people, even though we're all God's people. That's probably why Saint John is called Saint John of God, because he helped all people, not just those who he knew and were his own kind. He accepted and loved all. And that's what Jesus was doing, but you notice the backlash. So then, oftentimes, from this gospel, since it's titled The Rejection at Nazareth, we can see that oftentimes people put what they want and their needs ahead of true goodness and good virtue. And I think that's the challenge for today, is making sure that we are constantly pursuing truth, beauty, and goodness of the faith, to help bring as many people close to God as possible, no matter how many ruffling of the feathers that might take place. To be a true Christian, we are called to ruffle some feathers, to help people grow in holiness and to help people grow closer to God, because ultimately our souls are at stake. So the challenge is not to be afraid of doing something different, within your own life that might surprise some people, whether it be family or friends, or whatever it might be. Knowing that you're pursuing truth and goodness and whatever it is that God's calling you to be, because we're all called to grow in holiness and to grow in our spiritual life. So whatever it is, don't be afraid to do it. Be courageous and go against the naysayers, and don't be content all the time. Which is, that doesn't mean get up and leave and move, but it means like don't be content in your spiritual life. Otherwise, growth won't happen. I forget, there's a phrase whenever I was in that brief moment of sales, where if you're not growing, you're dying. So we're all called to grow, because if we don't grow in our faith, we're going to die in our faith. So definitely choose the former. Have a great day. God bless. Amen. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Great to see you again.